Attention seniors, if you ever have an encounter with a police officer, there are 5 specific phrases that should immediately put you on high alert about your constitutional rights. These phrases sound routine and harmless, but they're actually designed to get you to give up legal protections that could save you from serious trouble later. In recent studies on police interactions with older adults, researchers found that seniors are 40% more likely to waive their rights during questioning, often because they don't recognize when those rights are being put at risk. What makes this even more concerning is that once you give up these rights, you can't easily get them back. And the consequences can follow you for months or years, even if you've done nothing wrong. I'm constitutional law attorney Michael Rodriguez, and today I'm going to reveal exactly what these 5 dangerous phrases are, why police use them specifically with older adults, and the precise words you should say to protect yourself. So stay with me until the end, because I'll also share the one simple response that immediately stops questioning and forces officers to respect your constitutional protections, and it's something every senior should memorize today. And if you're watching right now, please hit like so YouTube shows this to other seniors who need this crucial information. And comment below, have you ever felt confused or pressured during a police interaction? I want to hear about your experiences. Why this knowledge could change your life? Understanding your rights during police interactions isn't just about legal theory. It's about protecting your freedom, your reputation, and your financial security. The stakes are higher than most seniors realize, especially in today's legal environment where even innocent statements can be twisted into evidence against you. Here's what's at risk when you don't recognize these warning phrases. First, anything you say can be used to build a case against you, even if you're completely innocent of any wrongdoing. Innocent explanations can sound suspicious when taken out of context in a courtroom months later. Second, once you start talking without understanding your rights, officers can continue questioning you for hours using psychological pressure techniques that work especially well on older adults who were raised to respect authority. But there's an even bigger problem that most seniors don't know about. In many situations, police don't have to read you your Miranda rights unless you're under arrest. This means they can ask you questions that feel like casual conversation, but are actually building a case file with your own words. The Miranda rule applies to custodial interrogation, but officers can question you extensively before that point. The financial consequences can be devastating too. Even if charges are eventually dropped, you might spend thousands on legal fees, miss work for court appearances, or face professional consequences if your employer learns about the investigation. And unfortunately, the elderly are susceptible to many crimes, but particularly susceptible to fraud schemes that destroy their financial resources and personal security, which means you might already be financially vulnerable when legal problems arise. The goal isn't to become combative with police, it's to recognize when your constitutional rights are being put at risk so you can protect yourself while still being respectful and cooperative within proper legal boundaries. Why police use these phrases more often with seniors? From a law enforcement perspective, older adults represent what investigators call cooperative subjects, people more likely to talk freely without invoking their constitutional protections. This isn't necessarily malicious, but it does mean seniors face unique challenges during police encounters that younger people might not experience. First, there's the generational respect factor. Many seniors grew up in an era when questioning authority figures was less common, and when community relationships with police were built on different foundations. Officers know that older adults are more likely to answer questions out of politeness or a desire to be helpful, even when those questions could potentially incriminate them. Second, there's the assumption that cooperation will clear things up quickly. Seniors often believe that if they just explain the situation thoroughly, any misunderstanding will be resolved. Police increasingly serve as first responders to incidents involving older adults in which aging-related health plays a critical role, which means officers may seem familiar and trustworthy during what feels like a routine encounter. Third, many seniors aren't fully aware of how modern policing and prosecution works. The legal system has become much more complex since their younger years, with prosecutors who build cases from seemingly innocent statements and digital recordings that capture every word. What used to be resolved with a conversation might now become a formal investigation. Fourth, officers use the authority and urgency approach with seniors. They'll suggest that cooperation is expected, that delays will make things more complicated, or that family members might be affected if the situation isn't resolved quickly. These pressure tactics work especially well on older adults who want to avoid burdening their families with legal problems. And finally, there's the health and energy factor. Long police encounters can be physically and emotionally exhausting for seniors, making them more likely to agree to questioning just to end the interaction. Officers may consciously or unconsciously exploit this by extending encounters until resistance breaks down. Understanding these dynamics helps you recognize when normal police work crosses into territory where your constitutional rights need protection. The 5 dangerous phrases you must recognize. Let me give you the exact phrases that should immediately trigger your constitutional protection response. These phrases are carefully chosen because they sound reasonable and non-threatening, but each one is designed to get you to waive important legal rights. Phrase number 1, this is just a routine investigation, nothing to worry about. When an officer says this, they're trying to make you feel like talking is no big deal and that you're not really a suspect. But legally, there's no such thing as just routine when police are asking you specific questions about events. Any investigation can become serious based on your answers. Phrase number 2, we just need to get your side of the story. This sounds helpful, like they want to hear your perspective to be fair. In reality, they're asking you to provide a formal statement without understanding what evidence they already have or how your words might contradict other information they've gathered. Phrase number 3, if you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't mind answering a few questions. This is psychological manipulation designed to make you feel guilty for exercising your constitutional rights. It implies that only guilty people invoke their right to remain silent, which is completely false under the law. Phrase number 4, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. While not always said directly, this phrase or variations like we can handle this here or downtown are designed to create artificial urgency and pressure. They're suggesting that cooperation now will prevent bigger problems later, but that's not legally accurate. Phrase number 5, you're not under arrest, so you don't need a lawyer. This is technically true, but misleading. You have the right to have a lawyer present during questioning even before you're formally arrested, and anything you say during non-custodial questioning can still be used against you in court. Each of these phrases is designed to lower your guard and get you talking before you understand the legal implications. Once you recognize them, you can respond appropriately to protect yourself. Why these phrases work so effectively on seniors? From the psychology behind these phrases helps explain why they're particularly effective with older adults and why you need specific strategies to counter them. Police training often includes techniques for building rapport and reducing resistance, and these methods work especially well on seniors for predictable reasons. The routine investigation phrase works because seniors often have more experience with bureaucracy and official procedures. When something is described as routine, it feels safe and familiar. You might think about routine medical appointments or routine paperwork, not realizing that routine police investigations can still result in serious legal consequences. The get your side of the story approach appeals to seniors' sense of fairness and desire to set the record straight. Many older adults have dealt with misunderstandings throughout their lives and believe that clear communication can resolve most problems. They don't realize that in legal situations, your side might inadvertently provide evidence for the other side's case. The nothing-to-hide manipulation works particularly well on seniors because it appeals to moral values and community reputation. Older adults often care deeply about what neighbors and family think, and the implication that only guilty people need lawyers can feel like a moral challenge rather than a legal trap. The pressure tactic, easy way or hard way, exploits seniors' desire to avoid conflict and their concern about being a burden on family members. The suggestion that cooperation now prevents bigger problems later feels reasonable, especially to people who prefer to handle situations themselves rather than involving lawyers or family members. And the "you don't need a lawyer" phrase works because many seniors still think of lawyers as expensive, formal, and only necessary for serious criminals. They don't understand that in today's legal environment, having legal representation during any police questioning is a practical protection, not an admission of guilt. These psychological approaches are effective because they appeal to positive traits that most seniors have: respect for authority, desire for fairness, concern for family, and preference for simple solutions. But in legal situations, these natural inclinations can work against your best interests. The 3 constitutional rights every senior must understand. Before we cover how to respond to dangerous police phrases, you need to understand the 3 fundamental constitutional rights that protect you during any police encounter. These rights come from the 5th Amendment protection against self-incrimination and the 6th Amendment right to legal counsel. Right number 1, the right to remain silent. You have the right to remain silent, and anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. This isn't just for people under arrest. You can invoke this right during any police questioning. Silence cannot be used as evidence of guilt, and you don't have to explain why you're choosing not to answer questions. Right number 2, the right to legal counsel. You have the right to have an attorney present during any police questioning, even if you're not under arrest. You don't have to be wealthy to exercise this right. If you can't afford a lawyer, one can be appointed for you. Asking for a lawyer immediately stops questioning until your attorney arrives. Right number 3, the right to leave if you're not detained. If you're not under arrest or being detained, you have the right to walk away from police encounters. You can ask directly, "Am I free to leave?" If the answer is yes, you can politely end the conversation and go about your business. Understanding these rights intellectually is important, but knowing how to invoke them properly is crucial. Simply saying, "I know my rights," doesn't actually invoke them. You need to use specific language that clearly communicates your intent to exercise constitutional protections. For the right to remain silent, say, "I am invoking my right to remain silent." For legal counsel, say, "I want to speak to an attorney before answering any questions." For the right to leave, ask, "Am I free to leave?" And if yes, say, "I choose to exercise that right." These exact phrases are important because they create a clear legal record of your intent. Vague statements like, "Maybe I should get a lawyer," or "I don't want to talk about this," can be interpreted as thinking out loud rather than invoking constitutional protections. The perfect response to dangerous police phrases. Now let me give you the exact words to say when you hear any of the 5 dangerous phrases. These responses are legally tested, respectful to law enforcement, and effective at protecting your constitutional rights without escalating the situation. When you hear, "This is just a routine investigation," respond with, "I understand you're doing your job, but I choose to exercise my right to remain silent and would like to speak with an attorney before answering any questions." This acknowledges their authority while clearly invoking your rights. For, "We just need to get your side of the story," say, "I appreciate that you want to be thorough, but I won't be making any statements without my attorney present. Am I free to leave?" This makes it clear you're not providing information and establishes whether you're being detained. When you hear, "If you have nothing to hide," respond firmly, "My decision to exercise my constitutional rights is not an indication of guilt. I am invoking my right to remain silent and my right to legal counsel." This directly counters the psychological manipulation while asserting your legal protections. For pressure tactics like easy way or hard way, stay calm and say, "I want to cooperate within my legal rights. I will not answer questions without an attorney present, and I'd like to contact one now." This shows willingness to cooperate through proper legal channels. When told, "You don't need a lawyer," respond clearly, "I am choosing to exercise my right to legal counsel. I will not answer questions or make statements without my attorney present." Don't let them talk you out of this decision. Remember these key points when using these responses. Stay calm and polite, Speak clearly and loudly enough to be heard, repeat your position if necessary, and don't let them argue with you about your rights. You have the right to remain silent, and you should not discuss your case without talking to a lawyer. If they continue questioning after you've invoked your rights, don't answer. Just repeat, "I am exercising my right to remain silent and want my attorney." Any continued questioning after you've clearly invoked these rights can actually help your case if legal issues arise later. Red flags that signal you need legal protection immediately. Certain warning signs during police encounters should put you on immediate high alert that this is not a casual conversation and you need constitutional protection right now. Recognizing these red flags can be the difference between a minor inconvenience and a major legal problem. The biggest red flag is when officers start asking detailed questions about your activities, whereabouts, or relationships. Questions like, "Where were you last Tuesday?" or "How well do you know your neighbor?" go far beyond casual conversation and suggest they're building a case file. Be extremely alert when multiple officers are present for what was described as a routine matter. If they said they just needed to clarify something but sent 2 or more officers, this indicates the situation is more serious than they're letting on. Watch for recording devices or note-taking. If officers are documenting your responses, either with digital recorders, body cameras they specifically turn on, or detailed note-taking, your statements are being preserved as potential evidence. Be wary when they ask you to help them understand something or ask for your perspective on events. This friendly language disguises the fact that they're asking for your testimony about potential criminal activity. Red flags warnings include any mention of other people being questioned, especially family members or friends. Statements like, "Your neighbor already told us about this," or "We're talking to everyone involved," suggest you're part of a larger investigation. The location of questioning matters too. If they ask you to come down to the station to clear this up or want to move somewhere more private, this escalation suggests formal investigation procedures are beginning. Time pressure is another major warning sign. If they suggest this needs to be handled immediately, that waiting will make things worse, or that other people are depending on your cooperation right now, they're using artificial urgency to prevent you from seeking legal advice. Finally, pay attention to their demeanor shift. If officers who started friendly and casual become more serious, direct, or authoritative, the nature of the encounter has changed, and you need to protect yourself accordingly. Any of these red flags should trigger your immediate response, "I am invoking my right to remain silent and want to speak with an attorney." What to do if you've already made statements? If you've already had a police encounter where you provided information without understanding your rights, don't panic, but do take immediate action to protect yourself. Many legal problems can still be managed effectively even after you've made statements, but time is critical. First, document everything you can remember about the encounter immediately. Write down the date, time, location, names or badge numbers of officers involved, and exactly what questions they asked and how you answered. Include details about whether you were free to leave, if they recorded the conversation, and what they told you about the purpose of questioning. Don't discuss your police encounter with anyone except an attorney. This includes family members, friends, neighbors, or other people who might be involved in the situation. Well-meaning conversations can create additional problems or inconsistencies that prosecutors can use against you. Contact a criminal defense attorney as soon as possible, even if you haven't been charged with anything. Many attorneys offer free consultations and can advise you on whether your statements create legal risks and what steps to take next. Don't wait to see if charges are filed. Early intervention is often more effective. Avoid any temptation to contact police to clarify or correct anything you said. Additional contact will likely make your situation worse, not better. If police want to talk to you again, refer them to your attorney once you have one. Monitor your situation carefully.
Check local news, court records if you know how, and pay attention to any mail or calls that might be related to the investigation. Sometimes formal legal action takes weeks or months to develop, and early awareness gives you more options. Be prepared for the possibility that your statements might be used in ways you didn't expect. Even if you were talking about someone else's situation, your statements might be used as witness testimony or background information in ways that could create complications for you. If you receive any official documents, warrants, subpoenas, court notices, or formal requests to appear anywhere, contact an attorney immediately. These documents have strict deadlines and serious legal consequences if ignored or mishandled. Finally, don't assume that because you are honest and helpful, everything will work out fine. The legal system doesn't always reward cooperation, and prosecutors make decisions based on what they can prove, not on your character or intentions. Your action plan for future police encounters. Let's create a practical action plan that will protect you during any future police encounters while allowing you to be respectful and cooperative within appropriate legal boundaries. Following this plan will give you confidence and clear direction if you ever face these situations again. First, memorize the key phrases for invoking your rights. Practice saying out loud, "I am invoking my right to remain silent and want to speak with an attorney before answering any questions." Say it until it feels natural, because in stressful situations, you want these words to come automatically. Carry an attorney's contact information with you at all times. This can be a criminal defense attorney if you know one, or just a general practice lawyer who can refer you to appropriate help. Having this information readily available prevents you from feeling pressured to handle things alone. Create a simple mental checklist for any police encounter. First, determine